Hey everyone, how are you doing? I hope we're all doing fine. I hope we're in our mood to get ready to start studying real hard for the English B exams and also the English A exams. Thanks for stopping by my channel. If you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, thanks for keeping the faith. Thanks for holding it together with me. If you are new, hit the subscribe button, please. Leave a comment, let me know what you think. Today we're looking at Roger Mays's Blackout. The title in Blackout, the title is suggestive, and it suggests that literally there's a conservation of energy on the West Indian island streets. And perhaps it is also, a second meaning is that it is also in reference to a young white woman's racist view of a society that is being extinguished, and this is caused by a black man who is out on the street or free in a way that he would never have been free in her country. The characters in the story. There are only two characters, which makes it so much easier to remember what is going on. There is a white woman and then there is a black man. Both characters are not named, right? And the woman, to begin with, is so sure of herself, it seems. Although she appears very conscious of the dangers, she insists that she is not in fear of the black man. No. She notices the approaching man's figure with only slight curiosity. Yet, she pays great attention to the detail of his attire, his canvas shoes, his silent slinking gait, his height, his stooping posture, his strange, hungry-looking eyes. And all of this is insignificant compared to the fact that she sees that he's black. Now, this would lead her to thinking all different types of views, as at a time when at the time that the story was written, and in the setting in which the story was written, the black man was seen as a bad person, irrespective of who he is. He casually approaches her, which is unthinkable in her country, and this appears even more stimulating than upsetting to her as she thinks of the tropical adventures that would be happening anytime soon. She throws away the barely smoked cigarette that the man uses to light his, and he then restrains her scornful reaction towards her, but she's unable to get rid of him. So she decides to put up with his conversation, and she finds herself quite fascinated by his talk of the peaceful coexistence in his island and his puzzling view that equality can exist despite the differences of color. She misinterprets his second invitation to understand more by staying in the island longer as an expression of interest in her as a woman. And of course, she becomes embarrassed because the man now shows her that she is wrong in her thoughts. She undergoes an important change throughout the story, and this is more associated with novels than short stories, but Roger Mays brings this out in this short story. At first, she seems uncomfortable, and then, based on her privileged and racist views, of course, she is uncomfortable with him, and she takes the risk of discussing equality with this poor black islander. But in the end, she ends up being fascinated by him and harboring serious doubts about her supreme confidence in her own values and attitudes. Now, the man is different. He is self-confident. He's critical of prejudice everywhere, and he's proud of his own society's tolerance of other people. He is very tall, yes, but he may not be well, as he is stooped. He has a stoop posture, and his eyes also have a curious look, which suggests that of a great hunger, or perhaps he is disturbed by what is happening around him. Of course, we realize that he is poor because of how he is attired. He approaches the white woman for a light, and this also suggests his poverty. He approaches her for a light, as would any other person, but he speaks to her as his equal, which was not heard of at that time. Now he's about to move on. After getting the light, he's about to move on, but she insults him when she throws away her cigarette, and he stops because he had not even taken the cigarette from her, of course. Now he controls his annoyance with a look of calm wonder and an ironic apology. And this shows that he seems to read her defensive thoughts as he points out the inappropriateness of the behavior in his country. The man is totally different from the woman in his behavior. He behaves correctly and discreetly while he's talking to the woman. Of course, he makes blunt remarks because the woman's aim is to insult him as an individual at first. And so he tells her, it's a good thing you're a woman and you are not my type of woman. Now, while giving her something to think about, he suggests to her that, look, this is beyond you. This is more than just a black or white affair. This is me being a noble person. Of course, he's poor, but we notice in his final sentence, in the final part of the play, we realize the story that he is really poor as he reaches into the gutter for the cigarette that the woman has thrown away. But despite his poverty, he teaches her something about the value of people's lives and about how one handles individuals who show prejudice at every level. Now, the setting of the story is quite simple. The story is of a wartime, and this wartime refers to the Second World War and the period between 1939 and 1945. The man's accent in the story suggests that the story is actually set in Jamaica, and he appears to be of such descent. But he presents it in so in a twanged voice, which would suggest that he's perhaps imitating the woman and her accent to underlie, to show the major differences between both of them. Now, the plot. There is not much to talk about in the plot, except that, as I said before, the woman encounters a black man who is confident despite the obvious poverty he endures. He asks her for a light from her cigarette, and she gives it to him, but she throws it away after. The woman is of mixed emotions then, as she realizes that she is treated as an equal by a poor black man, and this would not have been heard of in any other circumstances. Now let's look at the conflict. The conflict lies in the challenge to the woman's biased white American values towards the black man, and this is resolved as she realizes that she now doubts her values because of the reasoning that the man puts forward. Right, so now let's look at explanation of some of the key phrases. The canvas shoes suggest his poverty. These are inexpensive shoes, and this is the first glimpse of the man's poverty. Later, we see much more of his poverty in the save the cigarette, half cigarette, and at the end, the retrieving of the discarded one. A stoop, head and shoulders are bent forward. Now, the phrase, as of a great hunger or unrest about her eyes, suggests that this look, similar to the man's slinking movements, might seem threatening to the woman, but it is nothing as bad as his being black. Clinched, an unusual use of this word, yes, but it is presumed to mean the burnt end is squeezed and broken off. Now, and it ends with cold speculation, is where he's trying to figure out her behavior in a logical way. But of course, this is perhaps one of the hardest things that the man has to do. Then the other phrase that starts with look at you and ends with I am a man, the man explains that all are not equal in this sense, that they differ largely in appearance. But then to him, she is just as much a woman as he is a man, which would suggest some kind of equality. The other phrase is she threw a quick glance. The woman thinks he is suggesting that she could become romantically involved with him. Then there's quietly aloof, calm and showing no interest. And finally, his eyes is quiet scrutiny, and it ends with appraisement. The man is watching her closely, not influenced by the prejudice of such artificial barriers as color, status, or money, but he is deciding, he is making up his mind about her in a natural and fair-minded way, minus the prejudice that she may suggest. The final paragraph in the story shows that the woman is deeply affected by the encounter that she has with the man. And of course, her self-consciousness surfaces, and she resists the desire to look at him. In the final sentence, however, Roger Mais ironically undermines the elevated impression of the man that we have shared with the woman. He now reminds us of the early description of the slinking, hungry-eyed figure whom we now see picking up the discarded end of the cigarette, and which suggests that largely his poverty allows him to do such things. Now, the themes in the story. Now, this may differ from what your teacher may say, and these are general themes. There is a prejudice which will come to mind at first. Racism, yes. Relationships, yes. The influence of colonialism, yes. But these are the ones I want to talk about. Respecting versus offending others. Tolerance versus prejudice. Equality, yes, and misunderstanding others. These are only some of a few of the themes, you can always search and find more. Now, the story is told from a third person's point of view, and we see the events through the woman's eyes. We're told what she's thinking, but we can only judge the man's thoughts based on what he says, does, or in his attitude. We are therefore most aware of the woman's feelings, and we see her as a central character in the story. Of course, we may empathize more with the man because of the woman's attitude, but at the end of it all, it is the woman who is dominant in her thoughts. The story is divided into three parts. First, it introduces the setting, and then it gives details of the woman's reaction to the black man. And finally, we get a recount of the man's indignant reaction to the sight of the woman throwing her cigarette away. All of this is important, and it is clearly put, though, because one is able to follow the story in a very simple and concise way. So everybody, thank you for coming by. I hope you learned something new today. Please leave me a comment. Like this video, share it with people who may want to know more. And if you are new again, please don't forget to subscribe for more. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back once more. Please stay tuned. Thanks a lot.